Okay, take it away, Dr. B.
Dr. B.
Hi, I'm Dr. Elizabeth Boggier. I'm the owner of Mountain View Veterinary Hospital in Rockaway, and we have another location in Denville. I've been in practice for longer than I care to mention. And we've been at the Rockaway facility for 14 years now. We're in the process of building a third, but the hope is to take all of them and put them in one. And Elvine was first a client of ours, now a friend and valued confidant.
That's
Go ahead,
it's been a while, isn't it? Like, I think I remember running into you at a some kind of an event.
Oh,
and
yes.
Yeah, and then you guys were like fashionably late, and I was like, my God, this is like the happiest bunch of people in the pet industry I've ever met.
Yeah.
You came, you were so happy, and then you wrapped up and you left. Like, I want to work with them.
Yeah. Well, thank you. We really appreciate that. We try anyway.
Yeah.
Try to keep it going.
So my name is Elvine Weng, and I am a certified animal behavior consultant, certified dog behavior consultant with the IAABC, which is the International Association of Animal Behavior Consultants. And I have been a certified trainer and a behavior consultant for many years. It used to be an unpaid side job where everybody just comes to me. Sorry, it's the cat. Everybody just comes to me for, advice. Then after a while, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go in and plug in the holes between the hands-on experience that I have, plug in the holes with training methods based in science and compassion. So that's where we are today. Should I just jump right in?
Yep, just jump
so.
right in. And and just I want to remind people, if you want to see Elvine on the big screen, just switch to speaker view as opposed to gallery view. So feel free to do that. Take it away.
Okay. All right. So Dr. B and I, we talked about the extreme uptick in pet population in the last 3 years. People had to stay home and kind of social distance, and I'm seeing about an 80% uptick in dog population. I don't know about cats, but in dog population, that is quite a huge number. Unfortunately, with social distancing, a lot of the people who got new puppies, let's say starting in probably the fourth quarter of 2020, they were missing out on socialization opportunities. They can't go out there and meet people. They can't just go to friends or families homes to visit. So there are a lot of missed opportunities. Typically puppies, the socialization window is around 7 weeks old to about 16 weeks old. So you can see during that period of time, a lot of puppies has missed out on that. On top of that, there were also a lot of adoptions, through rescues and local shelters. And a lot of the dogs that have been adopted at around, usually around 1 to, let's say, 3 or 4 years old. A lot of dogs as well, when they come up from the south, a lot of these dogs are coming up from the south. When they come up from the south, everything's different. They're walking on the streets on a leash with people, and they never get to meet the people that they see on streets closely. And that usually, a lot of times, that would develop into a leash frustration. So if they're not allowed to sniff or to say hi, then they become frustrated. At the same time, toward the end of not the end of the pandemic, back toward 2000, toward last year, 2021, I would say when the vaccines came out and people were able to start mingling again, now they're trying to make up for these missed opportunities, and they're trying to meet everybody that they can meet on the street. However, not everybody wants to meet dogs. Not everybody wants to come say hi to your dog. So when these dogs who got to meet everybody then cannot meet certain people, they become frustrated too. So that is
So-
they're yes, go ahead.
I guess the typical COVID puppy, pandemic puppy, whatever you want to call it, that comes
Yeah.
into me are usually somewhere between 1 and 5 years of age. And like you said, they don't have a lot of socialization skills from being in lockdown. And now they're trying to figure out, how do we fix this? How do we keep, Snoopy from jumping all over grandma, or from being dog reactive when they're in the house.
Yep.
So, and I know that they're very frustrated. Unfortunately, a lot of the appointment times that we have, behavior, what you and I could do, we could sit here and chit chat all day long. So I'm really glad that you'd come to me with this, because it is a big problem. And it's a problem that is repeatable. A lot of the people I'm talking to have very, very similar frustrations.
Yes.
So
yes. What needs to be done is yes, we have missed opportunities, but it's not the end of the world. What we need to do, and what I have been teaching people to do, is that you, instead of allowing these socialization to happen naturally, you want to start creating these scenarios for dogs. You want to start basically creating scenarios for behavior modification. You don't want it to just happen organically. You want to say, hey, hey, Chloe, can you just come over, ring the doorbell, and we start working with that. You don't want Chloe to just come over and ring the doorbell, and then you're scrambling, to get your dog settled. You're scrambling to hold your dog back, things like that. You want to be prepared. You want to create training opportunities for you and your dog. Now, usually teenagers and dogs that have already reached social maturity, right around about 2.5 years old. So you want to create these training opportunities, and you want to start with, I'll just use the name Milo because there's so many Milos. Can Milo greet people at the door? No? Okay, so then we either greet outside or we greet further in behind a baby gate. The key here is to not add to Milo's frustration at the door, right? If you have Milo on a leash and you're holding that leash and you're giving Milo feedback, you're going to create an opportunity and opposition reflex. You pull back, Milo's going to pull forward. So the more you're pulling,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So the more you pull Milo back, the more he feels like he has to now really greet this person, because my God, if my people don't want me to touch this person, they must be like gold. Okay, so what we need to do is, instead of that struggle, either greet behind the baby gate calmly and with treats. What I do right now is that I come in and immediately I drop a handful of treats on the floor. So I would say scatter, and the dog's like, oh, now the focus is now on the treats on the floor, right? And then dog picks his head up again. Milo's like, more, and I drop, and I scatter another handful of treats on the floor.
How come you don't do that when you come in the office? If you just did that and you took some Hershey's Kisses and you just scattered them on the floor, all the team members would come running to you.
They already do, because I do bring in chocolate chip cookies, right?
That's true. That's
true. See,
I'm not proud. We all do love to eat. We love to eat. I'm sorry, Elvine, go ahead.
So
you have to keep me aligned.
So, again, how do we distract? How do we interrupt that behavior of just a single-mindedness of like, I gotta say hi to this person? We either we don't use toys because that's too much excitement. So we drop treats and we say scatter, or we say find it. We give the dog room for some movement. So you can toss treats to the left, toss treats to the right, toss treat to behind the dog, toss treat in front of you. And you are giving the dog that opportunity to move around. And then once he comes back to you, he's like, oh, I know this game. So he comes back and he's waiting for that treat again. And then you can do that a couple more rounds. And then now you say sit, and you offer treats, now the dog is focused on you.
Okay, so let me see if I have this correct then. If you have someone with one of these younger dogs who
Yes.
is very reactive when someone comes to the door,
Yeah.
you're suggesting taking if you have somebody coming into the house,
Yes.
stage it, make sure
Yep.
that you're in control of the whole environment, have the person come in, the dog, and
Yes.
throw some treats on the ground, and the dog goes
We're
like
not,
this, throw
we're
them over there,
not
and throw them
going
over there.
to, we're not going to randomly just toss treats. We're going to
Oh.
strategically drop. We're not going to toss. We're going to drop
Oh.
treats, right? So Milo treats and then drop.
Okay.
Okay, because then Milo's like, oh, treats, and now he's looking for treats, and then now you cannot rely. I mean, people can rely on me to help them train their dogs this way when I come in, but you cannot. Dog owners cannot rely on their guests to do this.
Right.
Because they don't know how to do this. They are not going to have good timing. So the dog owners need to do this themselves. So you're dropping the treats for Milo. You're taking that pressure off your guests, and you're bringing Milo's attention back to you.
Okay.
And that is dropping treats. Now, I'm not talking about kibbles or Cheerios. That's boring stuff. Like, guys, like, we can train with like more, higher value treats. Sometimes I'm using turkey. Sometimes I'm using, hot dogs, something light, but higher value. Like, you can, I'm not gonna toss Dr. Z an apple. I'm gonna toss
it's okay. Absolutely.
Cookie,
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So again, use high value treats and you start working with them right away. But you want to, again, create these training opportunities so that you're not caught off guard. And what I always advise my clients to do is that you need to learn the mechanics of these behavior modification sessions. So step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. So you figure that part out, and you're doing it exactly the same way every time you practice. And your dog is going to go, okay, I think I know how to do this time because we've done this 4 or 5 times already. Okay, so consistency is the key.
In a session, how much time do you typically feel like they should give it? I mean, I can't expect 30 minutes, but
no, dogs cannot work for 30 minutes at a time. There's just too much. What I usually ask people to do is 10-4, 10 minutes, 4 times a day.
Nice, I like it.
Okay, so it's easy to remember. We're not going to get it to the point. You want this to be fun. You want this to be almost like a game. If it's not a game, you're going to see it as a chore, and you won't do it. And your dog's going to be like, I don't want to do this. This is
understandable.
Boring. This is boring. So you want to make this fun, and you want to make it so that your dog is eager to learn. And that is by creating a game out of it. So we can call it, the scatter game. And I usually give the treat tossing a name. Like, I would say, find it. So I would slide a treat away, and I would tell the dog to go find it. But you always want to give what you're doing with your dog a name. So you're capturing that activity with a name, so that when your dog here, it's kind of like when we take our dogs outside, we're like, walk, and they're like, oh my God, right? So they understand labels. So we need to label games. We need to label activities for them. Same thing with when we meet people outside, or we, maybe walk past some, landscaping vehicles, and they were really loud, and your dog got scared. But in that moment, if you've practiced at home already, you can say it's okay, and your dog understand it's okay. Plus, what happens after it's okay, and your dog will, you can help your dog down.
Now that's interesting, because I'd always been told, you don't want to go, it's okay, because now you're reinforcing their fears.
You cannot reinforce fear. Fear is fear. They're going to be afraid because it is not a learned behavior. Okay. How do you deal with fear? You need to provide support. You need to provide confidence. You need to share confidence with your dog. If you're not worried and you're not scared, your dog's gonna be like, no, we're not gonna die. We're okay. It has a lot to do with we're all going to die.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're in the
Right?
process of becoming fear-free certified, and the thing that really hit me was they said it's like a panic attack.
Absolutely.
And if you've ever had a panic attack, you know how terrifying that can be. So it's
when
I'm glad you said that.
It's we need to help ground them. So saying it's okay, it's kind of like when you are almost in a panic attack, right? You're trying to ground yourself. So you will name the 5 things around you. You're bringing yourself back to reality. That's kind of what it's okay is. So when you're saying, when you're reassuring them that something is not scary, sometimes I would say it's okay, and other times I would say, hey, no big deal. So you're putting yourself in a different mindset that you are calm and you're not afraid, and your dog looks at you and go, okay, I guess it's not that bad.
Okay.
Dr. B, you remember my guy, Chester, he was on Cilio for a while.
Yeah.
He stopped.
Woohoo!
He stopped because earlier this year, we were outside and there's just like a stray thunderstorm and like just a really, really loud thunderclap. And I was like, oh, and he goes like this, and I'm like, oh, that's a lot of fun. And then I started dancing around the yard and
la, 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 la. It's all
yeah,
okay.
absolutely. And it's okay.
And your neighbors are going, yeah.
Yeah, so we did a lot of that, and I danced around in the house, and it reduced the anxiety instead of just immediately going, oh my God, and I'm kind of worried about how he's feeling and stuff like that. We now go into party mode. So it helped a little bit because he's not looking at it like she's really worried. So so should I panic? So your worry can and uncertainty can affect your dogs too.
Understandable.
Okay. So
we kind of, just one more question before we go on to the next topic. What is a reasonable time frame that people should be working with their pet? If you start working with a pet who's reactive to people coming to the house, is it 2 weeks? Is it 4 weeks? Or does it just depend on the case?
There's really no time frame in behavior modification, but you want to see progress. After the first week, you want to see slight progress. Okay, if you're not making progress, and it depends on what kind of reactivity too. If your dog is barking and lunging at people, not in a friendly way, rather than, oh my God, I really need to meet this person, then that's something that you probably should look for professional help. And also, if the dogs cannot calm down, their brains need to be a certain level so that they can start learning. If they cannot come down to that level, then we may need psychopharmaceutical help. And that's when they should talk to that's when they should discuss with their veterinarians to see if they can go on some kind of a more generally prescribed medication.
And on that note, I just want to mention, because I'm not sure, who's on the Zoom, if you've ever had behavior talks with me before, but when it comes to behavior, there's no magic pill. You've got to use these types of anti-anxiety medications in conjunction with behavior management.
Because in conjunction with behavior management, yes.
And sometimes people think they're going to be on it lifelong, and that's not necessarily the case. You may use it for a couple months or a year, and then gradually wean them off as the pet becomes less anxious.
For example, Prozac. You need to be at a certain dose for about 4 to 6 weeks before you see some kind of a effect,
change.
And then at that point, then you either dial up or dial down. But once it starts having the pet starts exhibiting a change after being on Prozac, that's when you can start working with them, because that anxiety level has dropped. Now they can think, and we can work from below threshold. Okay. Gotcha. This is not a, well, my dog's not anxious anymore, so I don't have to do anything.
Right.
That's not how this works. It needs to work. Psychopharmaceutical needs to work in conjunction with a behavioral modification plan. And that plan is not a, there's no time frame to behavior modification. It needs to be, your dog is the one that is going to decide how quickly I can improve. Sometimes they're doing really, really well and they can improve.
Gotcha.
And then they have a setback, and then you may have to take 2 steps back and work from there. But you always want to work from slightly below their threshold. Why slightly below threshold? Once they're over that threshold, they can't learn. So slightly below, meaning they know what's out there, they notice it, they are slightly concerned, but they're not reacting yet.
So does that mean husbands have a very low threshold of, and it doesn't take an awful lot to set them off?
But we also, from that threshold, what we want to do is that we want to move that threshold, right?
And,
so
and that varies from pet to pet, I assume.
Yes. So that's say Milo, it goes crazy when they see neighbors coming down the road from about 30 feet away. So we start at 31 feet. And then we gradually reduce that threshold to 28, 25, 20, 15, so that this is how you work. We are not going to just immediately jump to 15.
Okay.
We need to work in I always tell people we train in layers. It's a layer where we have mini goals that we want to meet, and then we meet goal number 1, and then we go to goal number 2, and then we go to goal number 3. So we're training in layers. And also a lot of people are very impatient when it comes to working with their own dogs, and I'm like,
oh yes, I understand.
No. Remember when you learn to swim, you never learn to swim in the deep end. You learn to swim in the shallow end first. You got to do the easy stuff, get the mechanics down, and then you move forward. And
so guys, just to do a time check, it's 5:07. So can we talk about the examples of 2 dogs meeting on the street?
Yes.
I think that's a good one, and it's probably pretty fun.
And then we'll jump to the I'm going to talk real quick about socialization. Okay, so there are 2 types of socialization that I do. I do an active socialization and a static socialization. Active socialization meaning you're inviting people over, you're creating scenarios for your dogs to meet new people at home, in the yard, in the driveway, at the park. But you're creating these scenarios, right? Opportunities to help your dog meet new people. And obviously, we're not going to do the whole jumping up and stuff like that. So we're going to be asking for a sit, asking for a behavior, and then reward your dog for that behavior with, gentle and calm attention. We're not going to go in 2 hands, go, oh my God, you love me so much. So you want your dog to be calm, but you're rallying your dog up at the same time. So we need to be very mindful of the amount of energy we are transferring to your dog when you're greeting them. Think about how we would greet a cat. That's how you should be greeting a dog. You will never go to a cat you don't know and go, I love you so much. You're going to get scratched. Right? Except you're Dr. B.
Absolutely.
So greet dogs as if they're cats that you don't know. Be gentle, be polite, low energy. And that's going to keep you safe, and that is going to keep the dog from losing its mind, going, oh my God, I really need to meet this person, and I'm going to meet everybody like this. So if we don't create an unreasonable expectation, if they can meet everybody here, that's where they should be meeting everybody, not here. It's always going to be a calm greeting.
Okay, so speaking of that calm greeting, how are you? Do you want to catch, if you have, what's the best way for somebody who your dog is reactive, and now you're going to be passing them in the street, and you don't know if that dog's going to be reactive, but if they bark, your dog's going to start going nuts? So
I call this an avoidance dance. Okay. So we have 2 dogs, let's say 2 dogs walking toward each other from opposite side of the street. Okay. So when they walk toward each other, they're gonna make eye contact. Somebody's gonna trash talk somebody. It's gonna and then they have to react and whatever. And by the time they cross each other, now they're barking at each other, thinking that the barking and the reactivity is making the other dog go away.
Right. Oh, because you're walking away.
You're walking away. So dogs learn through experience and association. So the more they bark, they think in their little doggy logic, they think the more they bark, the quicker that other dog is going to go away. But in reality, it's just people walking away with their dogs. So what we do is two dogs coming. So as soon as you see the other dog coming, you actually turn around with your dog. So you always place yourself between your dog and the other dog. So you turn around like this, all right? So we're coming toward each other. As soon as you see them, you turn around. So now we're walking in the same direction, but you're walking slower than the other dog so that they can catch up. As soon as they catch up, we turn around again and we cross each other. So they're never actually making eye contact.
Okay.
But you want to place yourself between your dog and the other dog. You always want to place yourself.
Right.
So you can either turn with your dog or just switch hands.
Okay.
All right. So if you are walking,
Well, we're not there.
if you're walking this way, this is you and this is the dog, and you're walking your dog this way, and you want to turn around, you can turn around, you can switch hands and turn around like this. All right?
Let me play devil's advocate here for a minute. So let's say you're in the process of doing that, and the dogs have already become reactive. Is that event now done? You have no other options, or?
The key is to be able to spot the other dog coming and turn around immediately. You do want to try to reduce the reactivity. If they don't react, that's the best time to do it, right? And don't
catch them when they're calm.
Yeah, don't turn around and start walking very fast away. Turn around and walk very slowly so that they can catch up quickly, and then you turn around and you go in your original direction. Again.
Okay.
Yeah, gotcha. Exactly. And at the same time, say something, happy. Oh, good boy, good boy. Watch.
We do have a question came in, even though I said we should wait till the end, but this is timely. What do you do if your dog keeps pulling toward the other dog despite changing direction?
You need to have control over your dog. You need to have control over your dog. If your dog is not under control, you need to either switch to a no pull harness or a head halter. All right, and you need to work with somebody that can teach you how to use those tools. Those tools are not going to be, not going to solve your problem. Those tools are going to allow you to safely handle your dog and keep your dog under control. But training is paramount, even when you're using tools. Okay.
So what if though you're just starting out and it's day one, and you now have your brandy spanking new, and you see X, Y, and Z? What do you do in a case like that? Do you just get them into a sit stay,
because in that moment, they can't sit, they can't stay, they're going to be lunging. There's nothing you can do in that moment to calm your dog down.
So it's done. Gotcha.
Or quickly walk past, or quickly turn around and walk away, or quickly walk away perpendicularly, just away from that situation. Even if you have to, come in, okay, bark, bark, bark. All right, that's not good. Turn around, walk away this way, and then make a big circle and walk past. Okay, because a lot of people will go, well, I'm going to ask my dog to sit, and I'm going to go, stay, 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 but the dog is losing its mind. Well, it's obviously not capable of sitting and staying in that moment. So there's really no point in doing that. It's only going to cause you frustration. Right. And your dog is going to learn to ignore you in the future because you have no control anyway. So with a lot of the webinars that I've done, a lot of trainers actually have learned the runaway game. So when there's a situation that's not good, so they go, run away, and then they run away from the situation. And the dog's like, what's going on? Okay, we'll just run. And they're giving the dog that opportunity to move. They're moving away from that situation so that they can regain control. And now they're probably 50 feet away. And you make a big circle, and then you're gone. All right, forcing your dog to do a sit stay in that moment is counterproductive. They can't do it.
I gotcha. No, they're done. Mentally, they're cooked.
They're just not there anymore. You know, it's kind of like, you know, when you have a patient that is going to struggle, no matter, like, you can't even go near that dog to touch its ear, and we are trying to hold the dog. The tighter you try to restrain the dog, the more struggle it's going to do. It's that where we're just fighting with the dog. There's no point. So quickly play a runaway game. Oh, run away, and then you're gone.
You know, it's interesting you say that, because we'll have, when the technicians are in the room and they're restraining the pet, you know, they're really not keeping them there like that. You know, they'll kind of give them a hug, and then the minute the pet starts to relax, they relax.
Absolutely.
And so it doesn't take a lot of time for that pet to understand, okay, if I'm chill, they're going to be chill, and it's all okay.
Absolutely.
For the most part.
Absolutely. Yeah. So
do you do anything at home? Do you do home training?
Yes, but I can answer questions later when we move on to Q&A. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
So we talked. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Elvine.
No, go ahead.
So we talked about how, you know, I know it's very brief, but you know how you and I can go off on tangents like forever. So we talked about greeting people and a few techniques, at least, in order to do that. We also talked about how what to do if you have a pet who's reactive and you're seeing another dog come up next to you. Did you have, I know we don't have an awful lot of time, but did you have like a third most common?
The easiest way, what I really want people to do is static socialization, which is go watch the world go by without being a part of it. All right, go to a strip mall, go stand 30 feet from Home Depot. Why Home Depot? Home Depot doesn't have a lot of dogs. Don't want to go somewhere where there are going to be a lot of dogs. You're going to go somewhere where there are going to be people. When you're ready, when you're done with people watching, you're pretty good at it, then you go outside PetSmart, Petco, whatever, and you stand 30, 40 feet away and you just watch the world go by. Sometimes I tell people, go stand in your front yard, sit in a chair, have a little drink, and just teach your puppy to watch people go by.
Well, we should all kind of do that. We should all just kind of take a breath.
Take a breath and just let it happen without getting involved. That is so difficult for a lot of these dogs, because people are trying to make up for, you know, under socialization when we're social distancing. So now they're like, okay, my puppy needs to meet everybody. So now if they cannot meet, you know what? There are some weird people out there that don't like dogs. We have to respect them, right? We have to respect them. So we don't want to meet those people don't want to meet your dog. So what happens is your dog now is going to lose his mind, because they're like, well, why won't this person say hi to me?
Right.
And that's when you need to teach your dog. Sometimes we don't meet anybody. We're just going to walk by them without doing a thing.
So when you say static socialization, do you go along the same 10-4 concept that you have with the other one? Like, is this something
if you're actually going to go out, you might want to spend a little more time. I would say probably like a solid 15-20 minutes. If you're going to be driving to Home Depot, drop somebody off to go do grocery shopping and go, park outside Home Depot and just watch. Sometimes from, standing nearby on leash, and other times in the car. This is a big thing too. In the car, a lot of these dogs are losing their minds. People walking by while they're in the car, and that's where you want to work with them too. I know this cat is just because he's everywhere. Okay, so static socialization, extremely important. Right now, probably more important than active socialization, because a lot of these dogs just can't handle it. Now, your Rockaway location, the parking lot's too small, so I wouldn't advise people to go there and just camp outside. But somewhere where there's going to be a lot of people coming and going, and you want to go somewhere where people are going to ignore you. It's very hard for people to ignore dogs when they're coming in and out of like a pet store. But Home Depot, grocery
or Parks
store,
Lake, or somewhere where there's like a bazillion and everybody
and you don't want to go to a park either, because then somebody's going to want to come up and say hi, and that defeats the purpose. All right, so
Right, I
somewhere where
understand.
you know they're probably not gonna come, or like go outside Sunset 66 Sunset Strip, which people, the medical building. So people coming in and out, they're gonna ignore you, and that's what you do. You want to be ignored. You want to teach your puppy to be, or your pandemic dog to be ignored. That whole watching the world go by, not doing a thing about it. That's what they need to learn.
Sounds a
Right?
lot like managing your emotions, right?
Yeah, yeah. You don't have to get involved with everything. That's what we're trying to teach them, you know. And
It's
and
hard.
I think,
It's been a tough 2 years, you know, and I think it's happened to both people and to pets.
yeah. And right
So-
now, and you know, and for an introvert like me, social distancing is like the best thing ever.
Bring it back.
I'm like, please, just stay over there. I'll stay over here. We're good. Yeah.
I understand.
Should
So-
we open it up for a few questions or?
Let me,
I think so.
No, let me share that screen real quick. I want to talk
Oh,
about
okay.
the tail position.
Keep us in line though, Barbara.
Yeah,
Is that, yeah.
you got it. Yeah.
Have any great questions? All right, if anyone has questions, just put them in the chat and we'll see what we can do.
Oh, Sue asked if I do private training. Yes, I do. And information, Barbara can give out the information, and you guys can email me, you know, later on.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll send an email tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay.
No other questions? Wow.
I just want
Anybody
to
got-
grab my, yep, just, I might have a question here. I just have to plug in my computer or we're going to get next.
Well, and my question is, we don't keep a leash on the dog. Actually, the dog is not, it's a pug, and it's hard to keep a leash on a pug
Mm-hmm.
because of their neck. But we don't keep him on a leash in the house.
Mm-hmm.
People come in unexpectedly and he's all over them, and then
Right.
won't even leave them alone once they're
Okay.
in the door. I mean, he's just
Uh-huh.
he bites their pajamas or their legs or their whatever.
Mm-hmm. What I would do in that situation is I would actually have a doorway that where you can put up attention gate, a baby gate, and keep your dog behind the gate until he has calmed down, and you walk over and you work from there.
That sounds like a good idea.
Okay. Now I wouldn't advocate. I very rarely want dogs controlled with their collars unless necessary. I prefer harnesses. You know, so
Right.
That's a good idea, yeah.
In the case of a pug or any snub-nosed breeds or small dogs that have you know, very sensitive trachea, I want to use a harness for training, and I advocate the use of the harness, because I have worked with too many dogs in a shelter environment where they come out charging out of their kennels, pulling on this, and whether this experience is anecdotal, but a lot of them have thyroid issues.
Right.
Well, you know,
right.
it's we actually had a pet just recently who did that. They were out on a leash and they became very reactive, and you know, as what the tech said it, and it really hit the spot. She said the pet clotheslined itself.
Yeah.
And you know, that's pretty much what it did, you know, and
the
really
thyroid,
got injured.
right?
Yeah.
The thyroid glands right here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I've heard any, you know, any studies that kind of lead to that, but for sure we're seeing intravertebral disc disease.
Yep.
And a lot of these pushed in faces dogs with
Yep.
no neck.
Yep.
The harness is a great idea.
We have a question from Carly. If I'm sitting on my porch with my dog for static time and they become reactive to a passerby or a dog, do I react to that behavior?
You can
by trying
actually
to comfort the dog.
Right. You can actually remove the dog from that situation. Go inside, distract the dog, go do something else, go through a couple of obedience cues, calm the dog down, and then go back out again. And now you got to be mindful of that situation, and in the future, try to prevent it from happening. All right. So if you see the same dog and person team coming toward you, and you're like, oh, that's what my dog reacted to last time, you go in. Just because it's a static situation doesn't mean that you have the permission to not watch out for your dog. This is a training opportunity. Okay, you need to have eagle eye. You're constantly watching and making sure that this is where I can help my dog, right? Look at the world go by and not do a thing.
Yep.
It's not for you to go out and have a Mai Tai and just relax. No.
Got to be watching.
Can only be
Yeah,
so
you
static.
need to be, yes.
All right, Nancy
Static,
says,
static for the dog, not for you.
exactly. Nancy says we have a 1-year-old and a 5-year-old. The 1-year-old barks at the neighbor's dog on the other side of the fence. The 5-year-old pays no attention to her. What's the best way to intervene or stop this?
Okay, so this is when you teach a really, really solid leave it. Leave it. So the end of a leave it is always coming over for reward. Leave that, come to me, and you get better stuff. So, and at the same time, you want to reward that. You want to praise that 5-year-old dog. So because dogs learn from each other. So the young dog's gonna look at the old dog and go, wait, you don't have to bark and you're getting all the good stuff. Maybe I don't have to bark either. So you want to promote, you want to reward the calmness. You want to reward the calm. And you can use the other dog to teach your young dog all the good behaviors.
Okay, good.
Right?
Any tips on how to quiet down super vocal bloodhounds, baying and talking while I'm speaking to other people? Well, that's not going to help, guys. Come on now.
Scattered treats. And then we're going to teach leave it. We're going to teach quiet, but you want to scatter treats. Okay. And again, reward the calm. When do we pay attention to our dogs? When they're doing something we don't like. That's when we're paying attention again. When your dog is sleeping, you're like, oh great. And then you don't pay attention to your dog. When your dog's laying down, being very quiet, you don't pay attention to your dog, because when they're quiet, you don't see them. It's when they're making they're making a ruckus, they're causing trouble. That's when you start paying attention, because you're like, no, don't do this, don't do that. No, you want to pay attention. You want to reward the calm. If your dog is sleeping, you're going to go over and you're going to have a little smooch session with them. Now, but remember, don't feed them energy when they're being calm. Okay.
You know, I love that you say that, because I just had recently gone through something very similar where, you know, if you wind up being very reactive with your pet, then the pet's going to get even worse as far as a reactive state.
You're basically barking.
Yeah. And I forget to praise them when they're doing something good. Just, I guess, like you do with kids.
It's yeah.
It's
exactly.
True. It's true.
Exactly. You know, and you know, and you know my Chihuahua Pee-wee. He is the calmest Chihuahua on this planet. He doesn't care. The only time he barks is when I'm not around. And he's outside, he has to bark at like airplanes and birds, right? I mean, they're invading our airspace. But when he's really good, then we are cuddling, we're kissing, and when he barks, I'm like, bye-bye, and I'm leaving. And he's like, oh, wait, okay, I won't do it. Because when he barks, then his favorite person is just going to exit.
Gone.
Yeah. Okay, from Tina. Our girl, 10-month-old Chessie, does not like change.
Wait, hold on. No, we skipped one.
We missed one?
We skipped a couple, actually.
I might be in a different order.
10-month-old Chessie does not like change. We got her from a pup at 4 months old. We lost our older guy a month ago. He was her best buddy. She was always afraid of new things, but now she barks at home and doesn't want to be near anyone. She may be going through what's called a second fear period. And that's usually around about 10 months to like 10 to 12 months old. First fear period is going to be probably around 6 to 7 weeks old. So what you need to do now is, if your dog doesn't want to be around anyone, then we need to give her that distance. And then again, work from below threshold and gradually decrease the distance. Are we putting too much social pressure on Chessie? Does she have to come over to me so I can pet her? When you meet a dog, you don't have to pet her. Some people think I'm like the most not dog friendly trainer out there because I don't pet their dogs. I'm like, I don't have to pet your dog. If your dog cares about me, your dog's gonna come over, smell me. And if your dog wants, maybe I will offer treats. And then maybe if they want to let me pet them, they will show me where they want to be petted, then I will pet. But if they are not ready for that, no, they don't care for being petted by a stranger, that's totally fine too. So we don't want to put social pressure on these shy, fearful dogs, because that's just too much. So give her the time to decide, okay, you're not too bad, I'm gonna come out and sniff you. And maybe 10 minutes later, after we've made out already, maybe I will let you pet, So again, we watch for the social pressure. Don't put pressure on these type of dogs so that they have to meet everyone. And you know what? Not everybody's worth meeting either. Sometimes she's like, I don't care about you. And you should be like, oh, okay, then you don't meet this person. It should be up to your dog. Best way to teach recall when there are distractions present. The best way to teach recall when there are distractions present is to practice recall when there are no distractions. Remember, you learn to swim at the shallow end, not the deep end, okay? Do recall when it's very, very simple, and generalize the behavior, go from inside the house to in the backyard, to the driveway, to outside, and then eventually you're out there. All right, don't just go, well, I want my dog to learn recall when we're in the park with 50 people, walking by. That's not gonna happen. You need to, again, work without distraction, get it down, and then start introducing minor distractions. Don't go, well, Milo's really good with coming from the yard when I call him, so now I'm going to introduce 5 kids running across the yard. He can't do it, So again, plan it out gradually. All right,
I think that was just a follow-up comment.
Okay.
Tina,
our trainer said to stop using the harness and use a collar because the harness is actually causing the poozing and his aggressive behavior, because you're not using the correct type of harness. The harness that your trainer is referring to is the harness that attaches to the back. And are we talking about, what type of dog is this, Angelica? Angelica Batista, what type of dog is this? What type of dog is pulling and aggressive behavior? Can you type it into?
It might come up at the bottom.
Multi-pull, okay. So that we're talking about opposition reflex here. You're pulling back, your dog's pulling forward, right? So what we do is we need to clip the dog on a front no pull harness so the dog can turn around. All right, so once you guide the dog around, we scatter the treats and then we work from there. Okay, so you're pulling the dog back. It's like a bar fight, like drunk people in a bar fight. You pull the guy back, they're pulling forward, it just gets worse. So we want to, again, reduce the opposition reflex and actually turn the dog around. All right, situation I have with Milo is that I got him during pandemic. He doesn't like to walk. He would shake every time I take him out for a walk. He used to want to try to run back to the house. So we train in layers. We start with house to front door to driveway, or garage to driveway, then garage to driveway to end of driveway, garage to end of driveway to a little bit on the road in front of the house, and you gradually increase that distance. Don't drag, don't pull him. Take 2 steps, offer a treat, 2 steps, offer a treat, 2 steps, offer a treat. Take a couple of steps back and then go forward again. So you want to show him that we can move back, forward and backward, and every step of the way, you're going to be rewarded for it. Okay, do you have any tip to help with pulling for whatever the reason on a walk? Loose leash training, and I do a lot of loose leash training. It is very technical with a lot of steps in it, and it takes like 4 to 6 weeks, but when you start doing it, you're going to start seeing progress. Basically what we want to do is you want to keep the dog on a short enough leash with a little bit of slack, with your hand down at your side. Okay, so your hand is going to be down here at your side. This is where the leash, you need to be relaxed. So you hold the leash here at the side, and your dog's head needs to be by your knee. That's the proper position for loose leash walking. How do we keep them there? treats in front of the dog at the dog's level by your knee. So we teach the dog every step of the way, we teach the dog to walk next to you. So every step gets a treat, every 2 step gets a treat, every 3. Now the dog's like, oh, I know this game. So if I'm here, I'm getting treats. The next step after that, I'm going through this really, really quickly. After that, now we're teaching the dog to make eye contact. So if the dog is looking up at you, that dog is not going to pull forward. So we're teaching the dog now to focus on us. The treat is just teaching position, right? And then after that, we're teaching focus. So every time you say, watch me, focus, whatever, the dog looks up, now you're making eye contact. And then after that, now the dog has to learn that when I make eye contact with you, I'm getting a treat. So now the dog is doing what's called auto check-ins. So the dog is just looking at you on its own, and that's when you start treating the auto check-ins. Multiple steps, lots of mechanics to learn, but very rewarding after about, I would say most of my clients can do it after about 6 weeks. Okay, 2-month-old Pom and keep attacking my 13-year-old Pom, won't leave her alone. Attacking as in playing or attacking as in attacking? No answer. So I'm just gonna assume that this 2-year-old Pom is trying to play with 13-year-old. This is where you need to heavily manage their interactions. Heavily manage. You should be playing with 2-year-old.
Aggressive
at times. Like biting and aggression, growling and like biting and thrusting. Biting and thrusting. All right. So that is going to probably require a behavior intervention.
That says on my next door, the information is that.
So that's going to require a behavior intervention.
Yeah, so this
All right.
This one contract, yes.
Somebody needs to be muted.
Oh, I got you. Not make it right.
It might be me. It's me. I'm so
I
sorry.
got you.
Oh, no, it's William.
So if you feel this is aggression, why don't you get my email address from Barbara and then send me a video and I'll see what I can do. Okay. We cannot dive into aggression right now. That's gonna take 2 hours. Same multiform before, very excited at everything and everyone to the point we can't have anyone come over to the house, jumps on everyone, tries to bite even us if we step outside, and barks at everything. He's 3 years old. Static socialization. You need to be out there. The dog needs to be on a leash. You need to reward, watch the world go by. Okay, the reason why he's 3 years old and this is still not under control is that when he's biting on you guys and being so excitable, there's a lot of feedback. There's a lot of out, don't do this, don't do that, stop it. So when you're talking to your dog, you're giving the dog feedback. All right, so you need to stop that. You need to ignore, or you need to put him behind a baby gate and work from there, because you got to protect yourself. So you got to be able to calm the dog down before you can work with the dog. Now, if he's absolutely crazy and he won't calm down, then you need to talk to Dr. B or your veterinarian about maybe getting some psychopharmaceutical help. However, the best thing to do is do a behavioral evaluation first, so that a certified behavior professional can give you a report to bring to your veterinarian or Dr. B or whoever at the clinic and say, this is what's going on. And then they can, the veterinary staff then can decide what to prescribe. Okay, but this is not something where we can come in and just wave our hands and then make it stop. There's a lot of correlation between how we respond to poor behavior and why those behaviors continue to happen. Because again, when you're going out, stop this, stop that, you're still interacting with your dog. All right. In that moment, when I'm working with my adolescent dog clients, what I usually do is I ask them to stop. We're going to, as soon as they misbehave, we're going to shun them. We're going to stop for just a couple seconds. And then when they go, well, what's wrong? then we redirect them to a more appropriate behavior. We have tried the walking with the treats and it doesn't work. Also, every time he sees a truck or he gets really scared and all shaking. So what we have to do is get him in car park 7 blocks away from house. So what you're saying is, Angelica, what you're saying is that Milo can walk at a park, but not down your driveway?
Hey, Evelyn. So
LB.
yeah. So the problem we're having with Milo, when we got him during the pandemic, because of
Yeah.
work schedule, during our work schedule,
Yeah.
he would be in a room 4 or 5 hours. We would come in like for lunch, take him outside.
Yeah.
He goes out, okay. And then on the weekends, we would try to walk maybe 3 or 4 blocks, and he just starts shaking. He sits, but
Yeah.
he'll come back to the house.
Mm-hmm.
So what we've done is we get in the car, drive like 7, 8 blocks away from our apartment complex, and
Mm-hmm.
he'll come back to the house, but he just won't go. You understand what I'm saying? Or
He won't go away. You won't walk away from the house. He has to come back. Okay.
yeah. But the funny thing is, we went to Asbury Park, and
Mhm.
he walked the whole boardwalk without a problem. And there was trucks, a lot of people. He didn't shake, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
There is a lot of trauma associated with that walk away from your house. What without sight unseen, what I may do is I would encourage you to find doggy friends and walk in a group.
Okay.
Okay, happy, confident dogs that go, oh my God, we're going for a walk, and then they're happy and they're peppy and and Miles gonna look at them like, what's wrong with you? But we want to encourage him to follow. You play first in a group, in a play group. Play first, right? And then you go for a walk together. So we want to help him build that relationship, closeness with other dogs, and then we go for a walk. And he's gonna look at the other dogs, go, oh, you're walking them. Let me walk with you too. So maybe that will help calm him down. Again, if that anxiety is just too high and not going away, you're going to need to speak to your veterinarian about maybe psychopharmaceuticals. Okay,
Because-
but I would try walking with doggy friends first.
Because also we noticed as well, like when we first got him as a pup, he was very attached to my wife.
Mm-hmm.
So she gets up to go to work at like 5 a.m. So he would start crying. He would follow her to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So what we did was we started waking up early, putting him in the car, and driving 7 blocks away from the house. And since he knew that was like the everyday thing, he stopped. He stopped the habit of following my wife to the bathroom. He would just fall asleep. He kept sleeping. So
Oh my God! So you drove your dog around to make him sleep?
He literally would sleep until 8 or 9 because he knew at 5 a.m. we're getting ready to go in the car.
Now, would Milo walk with your wife down the street?
A little bit, but it's just like I said, we gave him hot dogs, peanut butter, treats.
Yeah.
Like he can't leave the complex, but if we go 7 blocks away, he'll come back to the like he'll come back to the house. It's just it's always a mission to get him out of.
Right. So I would try I would have doggy friends and try and go that route first. Once he sees other dogs, not dying, walking away from the house, he might be like, oh, this is not too bad, and then he'll decide to,
Okay, so we're doing a time check, and I think we just have time for, there's one more question and from Carly and one comment from Patricia. So if we can just hit these 2 and then we will wrap up.
Okay. Scout 1 loves her BFF Mac, but doesn't know how to settle in his company. We resort to leashing both and separating in same room. Any tips outside of leash? You need to teach a relaxation protocol, which is they have their individual beds and they're going to settle down and they're going to have a little, treat-filled Kong to work on separately. In the beginning, they need to be leashed, and then eventually you can drop the leash and then eventually off leash. So you teach place, which is go to your bed, and then you teach relaxation protocol, which is to encourage them to relax. And you do that by offering something that they have to lay down to chew on. So once that mouth is going to, dogs chew because it's self-soothing. Okay, same thing with puppies. Puppies chew on stuff because it's soothing. When that mouth is working, the brain is not going crazy and thinking about all these different things that they got to worry about. All right, but in the beginning, always on leash, and then eventually drop leash, and then after that, off leash.
We keep
Okay.
aggressive. I said we keep hitting them. It's gonna get more.
All right, so the next one, one more. How do you stop table serving? He waits until we walk away to get, before he doesn't do it in front of us. Are we talking about dining room table? Right? All right, so if we're talking about dining room, don't give your dog access to the dining room. Kitchen table, don't give your dog access to the kitchen. Work by restricting access first, and then a very solid. This is why I hate open concept houses. All these new houses are like wide open. I'm like, I have gates everywhere in my house. I love it. You need to, no place for gates. So somebody needs to be there with the dog on leash and teach a solid leave it. So that this way you can yell across from the room, from your open house, and go, leave it. And that dog's gonna have to stop. Okay, teach a very solid leave it. How do you teach leave it? You go online, go to YouTube, a lot of good videos on leave it. One particular guy, very, very famous trainer, his name is Chirag Patel. Look for Chirag Patel. Very good guy, very, very good videos. But teach a very solid leave it, very solid. That's the only way to control your dog.
Okay. I think
Chirag Patel, CHIRAC PATEL. Okay.
Okay, I think we're good. I want to thank everyone for coming, and Dr. Boggier, and of course Elvine, for this really informative session.